Hello and welcome to Kickstart 2024 in Amsterdam. Joining me now is Barry Gross, co-lead for the data center sector at Simmons Simmons. And Barry, thank you for talking to me, and congratulations on the new role. I mean, you've been in it for less than a month.
Yeah, this is week 4. Yeah.
How's it going? What's exciting about the new place?
It's going brilliantly. Had an incredibly warm welcome. There's a lot of excitement. The Simmons Simmons team have already been doing fantastic work in the data center space. It's a great time to join them. They're fresh off the back of acting for Brookfield on the Data4 acquisition, and just going from strength to strength. So it's really exciting being able to leverage the much wider network of offices that we have, both Europe, Middle East, and Asia. And I think we're just looking forward to being part of the growth story that is data centers right now.
Global powerhouse of the digital economy.
Absolutely.
Data center is a very good business to be in. The legal side of things is always a very good business to be in. The insurance is also another industry that will never fail until the end of time. What would you say, from a legal perspective, what would you say are the biggest legal hurdles on the European continent right now?
So I don't think there are particularly legal hurdles. I think it's more that everything operates within a legal framework. And the challenge both for the existing entities in the data center sector and newcomers wanting to come in, and let's be clear, everyone wants to jump into the sector right now, is really working out how to navigate those the legal challenges that there can be, and making sure that you can achieve what you want to do. I think it's important to recognise that all the regulatory authorities also want to ensure that there can be as smooth a running as possible, but they've got to protect the world, and legislation often gets a bad name as just being there to put up roadblocks, whereas I think the reality is that it's just that the governments and the legislatures need to ensure that we don't allow nefarious interests to effectively corrupt what is otherwise a fantastic industry.
Okay, I think that kind of points out to what we heard in the panel this morning as well. People were kind of a little bit against letting the regulators come in and reign wild free and just regulate the industry like never before, because we don't talk as much with that side of the world as probably we should, especially when it comes to educating communities on what data centers do and all that. So people get scared, governments react to people being scared, the industry gets impact. Are you worried that we might get into a regulatory wave in the next few years? Especially because we have so many elections coming up this year and next year in Europe.
Yeah, so look, I think that the industry has done really well up until now to self-regulate. It has been under the radar for a very, very long time. It's grown massively. COVID, more than anything else, put it front and center because suddenly people realized that the internet was not just something that existed in the ether, that it existed in a physical space, and that physical space was fundamental. People talk about data centers and digital infrastructure as being totally and utterly fundamental to the way the world works, and that's right. That comes with a price, and that price is invariably going to be being under the microscope and having additional legislation that will cover it. So I think it's inevitable that there will be greater regulation. I think the industry has got to work, and is already working really, really closely with the regulators to help ensure that that legislation is really going along the path that the industry was taking anyway, and try and avoid the legislation from becoming a massive barrier, both to new entrants, because competition means we need to have competition, we need to have new entrants. The data center industry has done incredibly well in terms of constantly seeing innovation being driven by new entrants coming from the bottom, bringing in new ideas, and legislation can sometimes result in that being harder to do. But I think the industry can also work with a lot of the regulators to solve some of the industry's biggest problems, such as the challenges over power that we're seeing.
Which is a massive issue in our sector. And again, we were hearing about how we can't build as much as the US does, because we simply do not have power to build 1, 2, 3 gigawatt campuses.
Yeah,
in the wake of AI demand?
the US market's a very, very different market. The US is size-wise, not just in terms of the data center market, but just physically the country, it's a much larger space to play with. So I think it's always hard to draw comparisons between the US market, the European market, and then similarly to try and draw comparisons between the Middle East, Asia, Africa. They are very, very different markets. They each face slightly different challenges. And I think it's fair to say that within certainly the main European data center markets, there are very, very similar challenges, power being by far the biggest one.
Yeah, and probably the West, water is a bigger topic than it is in Europe at the moment as well.
Yeah, but I think it would be wrong to think that water is not a topic and not an area of concern for those working in the European market as well. Look, the whole
especially Southern Europe.
Yeah, the whole ESG is a topic is absolutely red hot, and it's red hot because the industry cares about it, but also because the money cares about it, and you cannot do anything without being cognizant of how does it fit with your ESG credentials, and that's right. The world has woken up to the fact the industry needs to look to the future, and looking to the future means looking at my actions today and how they are going to impact on the short, medium, and long term.
Yeah. Well, we've heard a lot of stories about that you can't go to Wall Street or the city and get money to build anything now unless you have a very good ESG story to tell and actually deliver on it. Because I think that's been the big change in the last 24 months, is that people have been having to change the T's and C's, or trying to change T's and C's, which keeps you busy, I'm sure, because things can't be done as they were promised or agreed to 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So that's been called the green shushing.
Yeah,
by one of
and I think that's right. That it has ceased to just simply be something you throw in. It is something that is now actively driving performance, and we've obviously seen a massive increase in sustainability-linked loans, green bonds, where in effect you're getting better pricing if you're able to commit to and then deliver on your promises towards sustainability. And look, just trying to keep track of the various ESG regulation is a job on its own, and the work we're doing with our clients to help them do that is becoming an increasing part of our relationship with our clients.
Okay. One thing I always like to pick your brains about is sanctions. I mean, this is something that people don't like to talk about, but they exist. You being a lawyer, you can talk openly about them. Do you think sanctions, first, do you think sanctions get enough attention in this space? Do people understand that sanctions do impact this real estate industry that this is? And two, what sanctions should we be wary of right now?
Look, so sanctions really reared their head when the Russian-Ukraine war broke out, and impacted a lot of ongoing businesses because there was money involved in those businesses that was potentially connected back to a sanctioned individual or organization. I think that is now business as usual, and people are comfortable with operating with those sanctions. It's not to say that they can't have an impact. I think there is a wider story around how governments are looking to regulate who owns what, and especially with data centers being seen as critical infrastructure, the result is that means that transactions involving ownership of those data centers, whether it's full or partial, come under the microscope. And so owners need to be cognizant of that, and particularly startups where they're looking at building a business, you do need to think about where am I getting my cash from, because not all cash is good cash for that reason. And when you then come to really grow, you can run into difficulties. And it becomes an increasing factor in the due diligence process for financings, for equity raises, and often people aren't aware of it, and it becomes a bit of a surprise to them when the question is raised in the process. Well, did you get clearance for this transaction that you that you did? And the people say, well, why did I need clearance? Because they don't think of the data center as necessarily being a piece of critical infrastructure, and therefore something that governments are really, really interested in as to who is owning, operating, or potentially controlling them, just through the fact that they own a significant interest in them.
And COVID really changed their mindsets. We really see a lot of governments taking a different stance on digital infrastructure, mostly on the data center side, because some parts of the digital infrastructure was already considered critical.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Simmons Simmons. I mean, of course, you just joined. There's been a smaller practice for the data center space within the company, but now it's going to grow with you on boards, and you have a lot of plans. Tell us about those plans. What's the roadmap, the pipeline for the next 12, 24 months? We've got to go the long term, because AI is here to stay. So.
Well, look, I mean, the Simmons practice was probably a bit understated before I joined, and I intend on changing that, which means shouting about the things that they've already done, as well as things that we are going to do. We've got experience in the data center space, UK, Netherlands, Spain, Italy, France, Germany. We've also got a large Middle Eastern practice. We're just opening an office in Saudi Arabia. We've already got Qatar. We've got UAE. We've got Hong Kong, Singapore, and we want to do more and more in the data center space in all those jurisdictions. And the great thing about the data center practice is it sits within the TMT sector practice, and that means that we cover all aspects of the space. So we've got my co-lead is Kirsty Barnes, who's a banking lawyer. So we've got the finance side covered. We've got another finance partner who does subsea cabling, for example. We've got a massive telecoms team. So we're really pulling together all those disparate parts, because I don't see it as being, oh, we just do data centers. I see it actually as being, we cover the digital infrastructure space, because it all does come together. And if you look at the big players in the space, like Digital Bridge, for example, they're doing everything in that space. They're not just building and operating data centers or owning data center operators. They are putting them into the digital infrastructure space because it's a totally symbiotic relationship. It's, data centers are great, but if you don't have the fiber, then the data goes nowhere. Yeah, now we're all on our mobile, so you need the telecoms business that goes with it. You need the subsea cabling. So really, the next 18, 24 months is about leveraging all those different aspects and working in all the different spaces. My personal love is particularly data center development, investment, leasing, but we want to do all the finance work as well that Kirsty is doing. We want to do more additional work in the mass space as well. So I think it's we want to get out there, work with as many different people as possible, and see where it goes. But it's hugely exciting, and it's a great time to be in the industry. You're just listening now to Zinnia Sari of Digital Bridge talking, and she's saying their view is we're at the beginning of a 10-year life cycle for AI. And even before AI, we were still in the growth, but that growth is now meteoric. So to be starting somewhere new, doing work in that space at the beginning of a 10-year cycle, who knows where it will go? Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a circular economy. It's like creating a circle legal house. That there's a bit of everything within the context of the digital infrastructure society community.
Absolutely.
As you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Barry, so we are at Kickstart 2024 in Amsterdam. It's about 5 degrees outside. Why is a conference like this important to the industry in Europe? And if you look at 2025, what's the one topic that you think people should be talking about next year, or that we're going to be talking about next year? And if it's AI, a bit more detail on what it is about.
So I think the conferences are really important for 2 or 3 reasons. First of all, they're a great opportunity to meet with clients and make new contacts. This is from a personal perspective, because people are really, really busy and they don't have time to constantly be having meetings with everyone. But when they come to a conference, they're here to meet, and that means that you can have conversations with them. You can also learn from others, hear where is the industry, where it's going, and the amount of new learning that I personally find goes on at conferences is huge. You always come away with interesting perspectives and things that you didn't know. So I think that's good. I think then the other aspect is that they're important from a public relations perspective, because it allows the public to come, and I think perhaps we need to try more to use the conferences to bring in members of the public to help educate them, see the excitement there is in the industry, but also to see the honesty that the industry has in terms of recognizing the challenges that the industry is bringing to the into the world, and that it's looking to tackle those, and not simply laughing and saying, yeah, that's the world's problem, because we're not. We are razor sharp focused on those challenges. In terms of next year, I actually think, because this industry is so fast paced, it would be madness to try and predict what's going to be the big topic in 12 months' time. AI for sure will still be there.
And power will definitely be true.
And power will still be there as well. Whether they will be the key topics or not, I don't know. Exactly where the discussions will be around AI, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it'll be some legislation or something that suddenly has everyone focused on it. Let's hope that it's. We're also looking at more peaceful times generally.
I was about to say, we do have a lot of geopolitical things going on, and we have a US election. They might go one way or the other, and that will have an impact.
And we'll probably have a UK election as well.
Yeah, no problem. I think we will have.
Yeah. So I think that there are a lot of politics, as I said, a lot of geopolitical things, all of which can have an impact. But that's part of the excitement of being in the industry, is that you really get, even though it's infrastructure, and infrastructure historically has moved at a glacial pace, and we're paying the price for that. So in terms of power and energy more widely, in the digital space, things move really, really quickly, and that's one of the exciting things about it. It moves really, really quickly, and you're trying to mesh that with infrastructure, which has historically moved very slowly.
In a nice way, we are walking towards uncharted waters, but it's still very exciting.
Yeah,
there's a lot
absolutely.
Of it's a vast ocean.
It's the uncharted waters. Yeah. we just need to tread carefully, but I think still run, which is quite an interesting contradiction.
A lot of opportunity. Opportunity is probably the most used word in this space.
Yes. Yeah. We need to create a new word. Our opportunity is overused at this point. Yeah.
Indeed. Barry Gross, co-lead for the data center sector, Simmons Simmons. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Pleasure. As for your home, thank you for watching, and do check our website and social media for more timely news from the digital infrastructure sector worldwide. At the Tech Capital, you lead, we report. Bye for now.